Hi friends, welcome to the Inspired Knitting Podcast. I'm your host Bobby and I am coming to you from Kingston, Ontario, Canada. Today is Sunday, July 23rd and you are watching episode 90. We are getting there. So first I would like to start the podcast off by welcoming any new viewers who are tuning in for the very first time. Welcome. And to my returning viewers, welcome back. This is a podcast about my knitting adventures and crocheting and spinning. And there is crochet today again, which I am super excited about. And yeah, so lots of fibery fun. So if that's your thing, then cool. Show notes are always listed in the description box below, as well as where you can find me on the internet as well. So yeah, it has been 2 weeks, so I'm glad that I'm keeping up with that schedule. And yeah, it's been a busy one. So summer is in full force here in Southern Ontario. It's still pretty flippin' hot, but that's okay. I would prefer the heat over the winter. But yes, so we've had some pretty big changes. We had a family member move in with us, so I know you're gonna watch this, so hi Kaylee. I love you. It is so much fun to have Kaylee living with us again. She is a knitter and a crocheter, and she has been on, I think she's been on some of my podcasts before, I'm not sure. So it's really nice to have another crafter in the house. We have yarn coming out of our hoosas, but that's okay. So that's really nice. And she also brought along her fur baby. So yes, this sweet boy right here is Pringles. This is her baby, and he is the sweetest boy in the world. I love him so much. And he's a big cuddler. He loves snuggles, and he's got the most amazing rumble ever. He purrs so well. So I just wanted you all to meet him. He's so beautiful. So I'll let him go now. But yes, so we now have 3 kitty cats in the house. And yes, ma tante Net, I am totally becoming a crazy cat lady and I love it. So we have 3 cats. So Pringles is Kaylee's cat, and it's going good. My oldest cat, I've got 2 of them myself. So my first cat was Rami. She's my orange one. So she has come on a few podcasts before and co-hosted with me. I also post them over on Instagram as well, but she is my Queen Flirkin. She loves yarn. She is so my cat. I have one picture of her just hugging the yarn, like she's laying on it and hugging it. Now she doesn't get to do that often because she will like lick it to death or play with it, and I don't want that. But it was just so amazing. So if you wear wool socks, she will like rub your feet to death. Like she'll rub her head up against it, and she's so my cat. She knows the good stuff from the real stuff. If you make a blanket, which I have done, I made it out of like some acrylic yarn. She wouldn't use it. But then I made her one out of some Briggs & Little, and that's a pure wool. She used it. She's smart, she knows. But regardless, she hasn't taken too well to a new cat coming in. She's just, I think it's more she's scared, but she's also the alpha of the family. She's the boss. So I think she's just setting her territories, but she's just been hissing a lot and growling if he comes too close to her. But it's been four days now, and it is getting a lot better. So same thing when Sassy, we introduced Sassy in the house, it was the same thing. So Sassy is my little one. She's a very skittish cat with people and apparently other pets as well. So that's going a lot better then Rami, she is actually like very curious about him. She's sniffing him out, and I was so happy. Last night they actually like nose booped, and then they were doing zoomies back and forth and playing. So it's getting there, and it's so adorable. So yes, if you're not a cat person, you're probably like rolling your eyes right now. But I love animals, especially kitty cats, so I'm in heaven over here now. Anyways, all that being said, it's been super busy around here, but I do have quite a bit to share with you. So I got my coffee today in one of my favorite mugs, my Tim Hortons mug. I'm actually not drinking Tim Hortons though. I really love the Van Hoot medium roast blend, so that's what I'm drinking. So grab your beverage of choice, grab your knitting or your crochet, and let's start. So the first thing that I'm going to share with you, and unfortunately it's gonna have to be a picture because I got it put up high and I just cannot reach it. So I finished my Pooling by the Pool shawl by Chic and Regal Designs. I will insert a picture here. So I had it as a finished object last week, but I hadn't woven in the ends and I hadn't washed it or blocked it yet. So it has since been washed and blocked, and it blocked out beautifully. I didn't do any extra stretching. I just laid it out flat to dry, and I really love the size of it. It is a crescent shaped shawl, and something that I really love about it, it is really long on the wingspan. So it is roughly 14 inches in depth, and then I think mine ended up being like 63 inches in wingspan, which I really love it because I really like the tails being a little bit longer. I normally do wear my shawls with a shawl cuff, but I do prefer them longer. I am a bigger girl, and I just really like that extra fabric to wrap around. So, and I also like to knot them too. Like I like to knot one end to cause a little bit of weight as well. So if the tails are too short, then you can't really do that. So I did finish that. So this pattern has since been released. So you can head over to Helena's Instagram, Chic and Regal Designs. I will have it linked below. And she has links in her profile on Ravelry to get the pattern. So it does use 2 skeins of an assigned pooling yarn and DK weight. So 2 skeins of DK in assigned pooling. So I did talk about this a little bit last week on the show, but if you're not familiar with assigned pooling, it's just a skein of yarn that has, the majority of it is one color. It could be a solid, perhaps it may be a speckle, and then the other end of it is a different like pop of color. So when you're knitting with it and you come to that pop of color, you could do like a special stitch. So the thing I really loved about Helena's shawl, Pooling by the Pool, was that there is no right side or wrong side. So it's very potato chippy to knit. It's very easy to do. And it's really fun because you get to be your own designer. So when you come to those pops of color, if you don't want to do the special stitch, then you don't. Or you can do the special stitch, which is like a drop stitch, and you get to place them where you want them to be. So it was so much fun. It was one of those knits where I did not want to put it down. It was the only thing I wanted to work on. So for my version, I used 1 skein of a fingering weight yarn. Mine was in the Northern Pearl, and I think it was a 462 yard skein, I believe. It is on my Ravelry. I actually did create a proper Ravelry page for it. So I ended up knitting until I had 14 grams of yarn left. and then I did my border. So that left me with 4 grams of yarn left. So roughly 10 grams to do the border for the size that I chose. So yeah, I believe I will put I still have my notes, and I don't know if I put my notes in my Ravelry, but I believe I knit up to something like 260 stitches, something like that. And then I did my border, just to give you an idea if you want to use a fingering weight yarn. So I do have 2 skeins of the yarn, but I only used the one because the test knit was for DK. I was just testing it out at a fingering. So it is very possible with my gauge. I used a 3.5 millimeter. With my gauge, I ended up getting the shawl out of 1 skein of fingering. So that was a lot of fun as well. If your gauge is slightly looser, you might use up a little bit more yarn and not be able to knit it up in 1 skein. But I think it could be one of those knits where it's very easy to adjust. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. So thank you so much, Helena, for letting me test knit. I have done her patterns before. One of my shawls that I wore a lot this winter was her Hit the Brick shawl. That was another fun one. That was a DK weight shawl as well. So she has a lot of very amazing designs, and her patterns are very straightforward. They're very easy to follow, and I really love it because they're simple, but yet they're very eye-catching. And if you're one of those knitters like me and you're knitting something, you don't want to be knitting repetitively. You want to change it up, and sometimes with her patterns, you're always doing something different. So I really love that. So go check her out, Chic and Regal knits, and like I said, I'll have it linked below. But if I didn't say it, 25% of her pattern sales go to animal rescue. So I really love that. All right, so the next thing I have for a finished object is a pair of socks. So last episode, I showed one of these as a hoe. These are my heel toe do-si-do by Kay Litton of Crazy Sock Lady Designs. She is also the host of the Crazy Sock Lady podcast. So I now have both of them done, and they are glorious. I just love them so much. So yeah, that's them. So the yarn, I am just going to show you the tag because I will muck up the name, but that's the yarn, and it's on their entree base, and it came 250 gram skeins, and then it also came with a 20 gram mini. This is the popsicle colorway, and yeah. So that was a lot of fun. It is a self-striping yarn. So I did not use the mini skein that come with it. It was more of a lighter purple than this. So when I caked up my yarn, I knit from the middle of my cake. So when I caked it up, the center ended up pulling out this purple. So the purple of the mini is just close enough to this that I wouldn't have liked it. And since the repeats of color are a little bit longer, I just didn't feel it would flow right. And my favorite part is like the orange and the pink. Regardless, I do love purple. I love my purples. But I just felt it would flow better if I didn't add in that mini skein. But it does come with it if you wanted to. So I knit these up, and I did pretty good with lining the colors up. They are slightly off. You can really tell, like here in my heel. I'm not too worried about it. You're not gonna notice. So they turned out really, really nice. So I'm super excited about those. So I'm just gonna take one off the blocker here so you can actually see the pattern. It is a very simple pattern. It's only a 2-row repeat. So it's simple, but it's also got something to keep your mind going. So there's it's like a chevron design, and it goes down the front of the foot, and then the back of the foot is plain, which I really like because you get to see. I find that this pattern is knits up very well in a self-striping because you can really see the chevron texture. So I think they're very, very pretty. So I do plan on doing these again. I thought they were a lot of fun. It does have a slip stitch, heel flap and gusset. And I just love how the green ended up lining up for the heel. That was a lot of fun. So I did the 64 stitch, 2mm magic loop. I ended up doing the 64 stitch because I wasn't sure how the chevron design would, like if I did a 56, it would be too tight. So I definitely went with a 64 and it's perfect. So that worked out really well. So yeah, heel toe do-si-do. Really love the pattern. I definitely am gonna do it again. I have some more self-striping and I think they would be beautiful. And what else was I gonna say about that? Yes, summer sock camp, talked about it a lot. I'm currently obsessed with knitting socks. Summer camp started in May and it goes to August 31st. It's a fun knit along that Kay hosts every summer. So you can head over to her channel. She has Crazy Sock Lady podcast here on YouTube and you can join in on the fun. So it costs nothing to join. You just knit socks. You don't have to knit her patterns, but she has a library full of beautiful patterns. And yeah, you just knit, and you can share your progress on Instagram and Ravelry. And she is drawing prizes as well throughout the event. So yeah, there's those. Now just quickly, this is a stash acquisition, but I'm just gonna share it now. I just got this week. I have never heard of this brand before, but they are just some sock blockers that I ordered from Twist Yarn Co. in Midland, Ontario, Canada. I've always wanted a pair of wooden sock blockers and these ones were the cutest. These are the large ones and they got some sheep and stars and a moon. These were a very affordable. They were only $17.99 Canadian, which I thought was pretty cheap, and I'm really loving them. So I've never had wooden sock blockers before, so I'm not sure. These did not come stained, so you can feel in some spots the roughness of the wood, and there's actually like some splinters that are coming up a bit. So I'm just gonna do some research if I can actually like stain this, just to prevent that from happening, because when I do go to put the sock on the blocker, I do feel it's catching and I don't want it to pull my stitches. So I'm gonna do some research into that and see if I can actually stain these. If so, that's what I'm going to do. But I don't know, $18, I thought that it was really worth it. Now I have a pair of large sock blockers, which I only had medium, and they're wooden, which I've always wanted. So that was an exciting purchase. Okay, so I'm just gonna set these out of the way. The next thing that I have to share with you is actually crochet. So I had shared this with you on a previous episode. I was crocheting a baby blanket for a family member who's expecting her first child. So being the good podcaster that I am, I did not write show notes. So I'm gonna have to write here what the pattern is called. But I believe this was, you can get the pattern for free on a blog, or you can purchase it. So for like a PDF. So I purchased it because I would rather have the PDF to put in my Knit Companion and work from. But it's a star baby blanket crocheted, and I have it all finished now. It turned out amazing. It is baby size, but I did knit it, or crochet it, I mean, a little bit bigger. And I just love it so much. So for this pattern, I just went to Michael's and I got the Karen, the big Karen cakes, So I believe these ones are called the Blossom Cakes. So I do have all the information in my Ravelry, the colorway that I did choose. So for this one, I used a 5.5 millimeter hook, and I ended up using 2 skeins of the Blossom Cakes. So I do have a little bit left over. I might have like 8 to 10 grams of yarn left, but the rows, or I should say the rounds, were getting pretty big, and I'm pretty sure I could have gotten 1 extra round out of it, but I really didn't want to start, even though crochet is easy to rip back, but I didn't want to start it and not be able to get fully around. But I think that it is a really big size, good size, I mean. I have not washed or blocked this yet, but it's really nice. And I have it on the back of my chair right now. I'm just admiring it because I just really love these colors, and I just love how it works up. It's just so beautiful. So I will have the pattern linked below. Super amazing pattern. It was very easy to follow, and yeah, it takes you row by row on what to do. It's not hard at all. If you're familiar with a granny square, then I would say that if you could do that, you could do this as well. So yeah, it was just really a really great pattern, and I loved it. So that is now done, and I had a lot of fun doing it. I have to introduce more crocheting into my my craft time. I really do enjoy it. It does tend to bother my wrists a little bit and my hands, but if I just do a little bit each day, then it isn't so bad. So there is that one. And that's all I have for finished objects this week. So the rest of it is just going to be works in progress. So the first thing I'm going to share with you, nope, hang on a minute, I do have another finished object. I forgot it was in this bag. Okay, so with the baby blanket, I wanted to make a little set to go along with it. So I had purchased some Barocco Vintage Baby. I really love Barocco Vintage in their worsted and their DK. I have knit with it for a very long time. So I think it was like last year I saw that they came out with a Vintage Baby, which is technically a DK weight yarn, DK to Sport. And I had picked up a few balls of this one here. This is color number 10020, which I believe is Sunflower. That's a little bit more truer to life there. Very beautiful color. So I was gonna knit a cardigan with this, but when I saw this in my stash, I thought that it really pulled colors from the blanket, and I thought it would be a beautiful gift. So we don't know the gender of the baby, so I thought it was safe to, it's a very gender neutral color. So I decided to toss it, but I decided to cast on a little baby sweater. So I have never done this particular pattern, but this is the baby Vertebrae, and I know it has been quite popular for a long time, and it was so much fun, and it's adorable. It's so cute. Look at that. So I did the smallest size in the pattern, and the thing I guess that I couldn't understand was as you can tell here, there's not a lot to the front of the sweater. So I was like, that can't be too warm. But from what I have heard about it, the reason being is because babies tend to run hot. So this keeps their back and their arms warm, but their tummy nice and cool, because usually they're up against mommy. So, or daddy. so I was like, okay, that makes sense. So I thought I would give it a go, and I thoroughly enjoyed the pattern. It is another pattern that is very well written. And the one thing that I was really surprised about it is it gives you options to knit from fingering weight yarn, DK weight yarn, or worsted weight yarn. So mine is technically a DK. And it also gives you like newborn sizes all the way up. I believe there's 5 different sizes in the pattern. So there is some different sizes to it as well, which I think is very worth it. It is a paid for pattern. So yeah, for this little one, I only used 1 skein of that yarn, and I'll have to pull out another ball because I'm not picking that one up at the moment. But these balls they're 50 gram and they have 145 yards. And I was able to knit this little cardigan out of 1 ball. It was so cool. So yeah, it does have like raglan shaping. And then once you finish the body, you just pick up and knit your sleeves. There is no decreases in the sleeves. And then you just pick up for your band. There's no buttons or anything. And you get this sweet little sweater. So yeah. I did weave in all my ends. I just have to give it a nice wash and block, but it is done. So there's that one. And then now we're into works in progress. In the pattern, I don't believe there's instructions how to do it, but it would be very easy to do. But I saw that they had, the picture in the photo was like knit with 1 solid color, but there was another project picture in the pattern that was striped, and I thought that was just adorable. And I thought, well, I need to do that. So I still have like quite a few balls of the yellow. So because the blanket does have the golds and it has the oranges, I went on to Twist Yarn Co. because they carry the Barocco Vintage baby. And I picked out this orange colorway. That is more true to color there. And I'm gonna do a striped version next. And I think I cast it on for the size up. So yeah, it's going to be a baby vertebrae, but 1 size up, and it's gonna be striped between these 2 colors. So I didn't say it before, but this one is a 52% acrylic yarn, 40% wool, and 8% nylon. So it's very friendly. It's gonna be super cozy for baby, but it's also gonna be easy care for mommy and daddy to wash if it gets dirty. So I don't have very much of this to share because I casted that one off last night and I immediately wanted to put the next one on the needles. So that's literally all I did. I casted it on and did the first row. That's it. That's all. But at least it started and it's on the needles. So I will be able just to pick this up and just knit on it. It's super simple and I'm really enjoying it. They're a lot of fun. So I do know that there is a child's version of the baby vertebrae or the vertebrae, and there's also a mama vertebrae or a mommy vertebrae. I can't remember exactly what it's called. So it looks really cool. So there is some options out there. So mama and baby could have the same sweaters, which I think that's adorable. So that is my first work in progress. Baby vertebrae. I will have the pattern as well as the designer linked below because like I said, I did not write show notes, but I will try to put it across the screen as well. All right, so the next thing that I have to share with you that I have worked on is another pair of socks, of course. So I shared these last time, one as a hoe, And I was really hoping to have this pair of socks done, but it didn't happen, which is fine. But this was the first one. I am not following a pattern for this pair of socks. I just casted on 64 stitches, and I did a 2x2 rib for the cuff, and then I'm doing a 3x1 rib for one row, and then a plain knit row for the next, and I'm just repeating that for the leg and the foot. Slip stitch, heel flap, and gusset. And if you're wondering why these light bulb stitch markers are there, it just marks 10 rows in between each. That way when I do the second sock, it matches. So the yarn that I am using for this project is Comfort Sock and Wool, which is, let me see here. It is a 75% superwash wool and a 25% polyamide. And the color number, I believe, is 8837. And I really love this one. I picked up another one of these. It's like a green one. I picked these up at Yarn It in Coburg, and I just really, really love it. I love the black. It does that marling thing. I love it. They are so much fun. So the yarn, I would say, is more of a like a tough wearing sock yarn. So if you're familiar with Patton's Croy or Opal, something like that, then I would say that it has that same feel, which I don't mind at all. They make for some very beautiful socks, and they do soften up once you wash them. So here's what I have of the second sock. I think last time I had the cuff finished, so I didn't get that far, guys, but yeah, I have been working on them a little bit. My Progress Keeper came from Arkansas Yarn Co. in one of their Sock Society kits from last summer. So it's been a lot of fun. I've been enjoying those, and it's super mindless. I typically go for a rib sock before a vanilla sock. I don't mind the purling. I find it very relaxing and enjoying to do, but I also really love the fit of a rib sock versus just a plain stockinette sock. I feel like they don't fall down as much. All right, so there's that one. That is also for summer sock camp as well. Then I casted on a new sock this week. I haven't worked on my Rhinebeck Roomies. That's by Crazy Sock Lady Designs as well. That one hasn't been touched. I was just working on the blanket and the baby sweater, and I just wanted to cast on a new sock. New shiny things, you know how it goes. So I've had this sock set sitting in my stash for a little bit. It is Polka Dot Creek, and it is in her Rainbow Pride snow cones and charcoal. So it came with these 250-gram balls, and just real quick, this is her 50-gram yarn couples, 85% superwash merino and nylon. So here is the yarn first. So here's the charcoal, and I love this one. This is the rainbow. I mean, that is so cool. So, and I think those two together are just amazing. I love them. So I'm just gonna adjust my light here. There, that's better. So now you can really get those speckles. Isn't that pretty? Oh, I just love it. So I decided to cast these on, and I decided to do the Sporty Shorty socks by Forest City Knit Girls. This was a pattern that I've had sitting in my library for a little bit, and when I knew I wanted to cast on shorties because it's so hot, and I actually do prefer wearing shorty socks compared to fuller length socks. So I thought this would be like a really fun summer knit. And with this yarn, I thought that the pattern would just be perfect for it. So here is what I have so far. This is the first one. And it's got these fun stripes. I just love it. It is amazing. So love it. My little stitch markers are these little rainbow mushrooms. These were a gift, and they came from Whimsy and Sassy Designs. She is a maker here in Southern Ontario. She does these beautiful polymer clay stitch markers, so do go check her out. But yeah, that is my first one, Sporty Shorty socks by Forest City Knit Girls, and I just absolutely adore them. Those pops of color and the black, it just makes me so flippin' happy. I love them. So yeah, new shiny thing, but they shouldn't be, shouldn't take too long to knit up, so I have been enjoying those. So all the socks right now, and it's probably not going to be all the socks because I also am going to be casting on another pair of shorty socks probably today. I already have the yarn already sitting out. So I was on Instagram this morning, the most evil place in the world, let me tell ya. But Summer Lee Knits, she is a sock designer here on in our community, knitting community. Words are not, I need more coffee. But she is a wonderful sock designer, and she is going to be starting, I can't remember if it's already started, but it's going to be a 2-week sock knit along. So it's all about variegated yarn. So grab your wildest skein of variegated yarn and cast on a pair of shorty socks. So the pattern is going to be from her shorty sock collection, pattern sock B. So I do have the pattern, so I am just going to follow along with that one. It's just a plain vanilla, I believe it's just a vanilla shorty sock. Do you have to follow her pattern? I cannot remember, but all the details are on her Instagram, Summer Lee Knits, I believe. I will post below. But yeah, it's a fun 2-week cal that's going to be starting, and I just thought it would be a lot of fun, and it's an excuse to cast on a new pair of socks that I don't really need, but I want to. So yeah, I didn't bother bringing the yarn over to show, but I'm pretty excited about it. So keep a watch on my Instagram. I might post a picture over there to show you some progress. So there's that. Okay, so I have one more work in progress. So if you are doing the surprise sock along by West Knits and you have not completed clue 1 or clue 2, then maybe you would like to skip this section, which would be the end of the knitting content anyway. So yeah, if you don't want to see it, I will be showing and talking about clues 1 and clues 2. So Stephen West was doing a surprise sock knit along, which is his first surprise sock knit along. So of course I had to take part in it. I have knit Steven's patterns before, but I've never knitted one of his socks, and I just love him. He's a genius. So I of course had to start. So Clue 3 just came out this past week on Thursday, I believe. So I have yet to start that. I am a little bit behind, but I will go over the yarns quickly first. I am using Ancient Arts yarn on their Socknado base, which is an 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and I am using the colors, I don't know how to pronounce it, and Tiny Orchid. So this one's Tiny Orchid, that's my contrast, and this is the main color. And I was a little nervous that those lighter hints of lilac were gonna mess with it, because the sock pattern is called Contrast Blast. So you definitely want two yarns that are gonna contrast, one that has a higher contrast than the other. So I was a little worried about that, but it's working out fine. It doesn't bother at all. So I'm going to show it now. So the last time I shared it with you, I had that much done. Really fun, and I really love the cables. It does go all the way around. And then you have like this fun, almost like staircase wave design. And then this is Clue 2. So you have like these purl bumps, and then you have your heel flap. And it is so much fun. So this looks, I wasn't too excited about the purl bumps here, but I feel that, and people have, if you're on Instagram and you look at the Clue 2 spoilers, some people have blocked it out and it does look a lot better. It's not so like crumpled up. So once it blocks out and you're wearing it, it will look a lot better. But I've definitely warmed up to it now. But I really am enjoying this pattern, and I really love the heel. It was not hard to do at all. You're only ever knitting with the one color, so it was a lot of fun. So now I am done Clue 2, so I can start Clue 3, and I want to be spoiled, so as soon as the next Clue drops, Steven usually does a video, sometimes to show you techniques and then show you what it looks like. So I have totally seen Clue 3 and I am stoked about it. I am excited about it. I won't say a word just in case you are knitting Clue 3 and you know you don't want to be spoiled by that. But it looks so much fun, so I can't wait to start it. So yeah, Contrast Blast, Steven West. Clue 4 would be coming out this week, and then I think there's, I can't remember if there's 4 or 5 clues. I can't remember. My Progress Keeper is a beautiful Progress Keeper from Tracy at Grizzly Knits. I really love her stitch markers and Progress Keepers. They are so beautiful. So yeah, I really love this. Having a lot of fun with it, and I think I spoke about this last time, but I really want more Steven West patterns in my life. So I am already kind of dream planning, not gonna cast it on, but I have some pretty greens that are in my stash that I've been saving for kind of a fade. So I've been looking at Steven's patterns. There's a couple that I have in mind. There's a really beautiful chevron one. Can't remember what it's called. But there's a couple that I'm kind of looking at where you could do, like it takes several skeins of yarn that you could kind of fade. So that's something that I'm looking forward to doing perhaps this fall or this winter, because it's all about the socks right now. So yeah, that's all I have for the knitting or fiber content of it. I don't have any stash enhancement to share with you. I was just trying to remember, did I get anything? I got the Barocco yarn and I got the sock blockers. And I also did get a beautiful skein of Arnie and Carlos sock yarn as well, but I didn't bring it with me today. But so yeah, not too bad. The yarn that I purchased was for, besides the sock yarn, that was totally not needed, but that was a want, not a need. But the yarn that I did purchase was for a project, so it's not staying in my stash, it's going right out of my stash and helping get other yarn out of my stash at the same time. So yeah, not really any dream knitting, just working on a lot of socks. I do plan to do the striped baby vertebrae next. I'm going to do probably 2 pairs of booties. I don't really do booties, I do baby socks. So Tabitha Gandy has the perfect newborn socks, so usually I go for that pattern. She has like a plain vanilla, a ribbed one or a cabled one in all-in-one pattern. It is a paid-for pattern, totally worth it. So I don't really like making booties because they don't really tend to stay on, but the socks do. So I will probably make some of those. Her pattern is for fingering weight, and I do have a gold that is very, very similar. So I think I will be able to get away with making a couple pairs of socks out of those for the set. I'm not sure if I'm gonna make a hat just yet, but I want to make for sure like a little doll or a little toy or something to go with it as well. And I already have a pattern in mind. So maybe by next episode, I will have something started or maybe even finished for that set. I have to get it done pretty soon. So, so yeah, that's kind of one of my main focuses right now. But yeah, besides that, I haven't really worked on anything else. Main reason, because it's been a little hot, and when it gets that hot and humid, I kind of don't want to pick up my knitting. But reason number 2, I am a simmer. I love my Sims 4, and we had a new expansion pack come out this past week, on Thursday actually. So yeah, I've been gaming a little bit, which has taken away from my knitting because I can't really do both. And I have also started reading again. So before I became a crocheter, because I was a crocheter before I was a knitter, I would read a lot. I could go through like a book a day. I just loved reading. But once I took up crocheting and knitting, then that kind of just took over from it. So do I collect books? I have collected books over the years. I have a couple favorite authors. My favorite author is Debbie McComber, and I also love Nicholas Sparks. So when I see books by them at a thrift store or something like that, I usually purchase them. But so I got a couple boxes of books, and it's really sad because a lot of them I haven't read yet, and I really want to. One of them, my tante Annette, again, hi, she got me into the, and I can't even remember what the series is called now, but it's Debbie McComber, and it's all about, it revolves around a knitting shop. And I read the first 2 books, I believe, in that series, and I think I have all the books in the series now, I believe. And I want to finish the series. I want to start with book 1 again because it's been, she introduced me to the series 8 years ago, something like that. And I remember bits and pieces of it, but I'd have to read it again. So I want to read those from the start again. So yeah, I just want to do that. I have the complete set of Little Women. I have never read that before. I actually I just started reading, but I had to purchase Little House on the Prairie because I remember being a little girl and I was reading one of those books and I remember how much I loved it. So I got the first 2 books in that series. So yeah, rabbit holes. But yeah, I've just been having a lot of fun reading, and I think another reason over the past couple years is whenever I would start to read, I'm just going to change my light because I see that it keeps messing with my focus, which could be annoying. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I would start to read and I would get a really intense headache after only a few pages. So last year I got a new pair of prescription glasses. So I don't always wear them when I read, but if I find that I have a headache, I do have a lot of headaches, putting my glasses on and then reading, it really does help. All that to say, I went to a local dollar store and they had actually like a really nice selection of books. And it's not my local dollar store, which is a good thing because I would probably, you know, go nuts. But I saw this book here. It is Moon Dust Lake by Davis Bunn. Never heard of this author before. And it is a really good, it's a really good book. So I'm gonna warn you right now, I'm not good at describing books, but it's definitely, it's like a psychological thriller, I would say it as. The characters are very well written, and it's a very good book. It's about the main character, Buddy. He has a rich father, and they have a business, and his father, you know, he's kind of dealing with his own demons, and it's about facing, as it says, it's not about forgetting your past, it's about dealing with it. So it's just one of those books that I'm thoroughly enjoying, and I think it's very well written. So as I said, never heard of the author before, but when I read it, the description of the book, I thought it sounded really good. And then when I kind of flipped through the first few pages of it in the store, I noticed that Debbie Macomber's name was like mentioned. The book is dedicated to Debbie Macomber for her inspiration, her wisdom, and her friendship, most of all. So, of course, I had to buy it for that. And I'm really glad I did. This is a really good book, and he is an internationally best-selling author, the author of Firefly Cove. Is that not a Netflix series right now? It sounds very familiar to me. Regardless, I'm not big into a lot of TV and that, but so I'm a little out of the loop, but I really am enjoying this book. It is a really good book, and it's priced at $29 Canadian, and I picked the book up for like $6 at the dollar store. So that's pretty awesome, and it's a hardcover on top of that, so that's even better because I really love hardcover books. So this one, I'm really enjoying it, and technically it has a finished object in it that I forgot about. I ended up just crocheting a bookmark because I did not know where my other bookmarks were. So I casted on just a certain amount of stitches. I don't even know how many. And then I just did like a shell stitch, a basic shell stitch, and I did like 6 rows of that till I got the width that I wanted, and then I cast it off. So it does kind of have that rippled edge, which I really love. It makes it look kind of lacy and pretty. And then I just did some fringe at the bottom. that way it could poke out. So that one was crocheted, and the yarn is fingering weight. I used a 2.75 millimeter hook, and the yarn is Cheryl of Hypnotic Yarn. This was one of her Patreon colorways. I was her Patreon, I think it was last year, so you received a 50 gram mini every month, and this was one of them. So I know that most of it went into my my Cozy Memories blanket, and then I still have a bit, so I decided to make a bookmark out of it, and I love it. So yeah, I have to hide the book. I always have to hide my tassels because I caught my cat trying to eat them or lick them or whatever it was she was trying to do with it. But yeah, so I'm having a lot of fun reading. It's been very relaxing, and I find myself like putting down my knitting throughout the day just to read a chapter, and it's never just one chapter. Like, it gets so excited. It's getting to the point now where I just want to read it till it's finished. Like, I'm almost there. So I've been really, really enjoying that. And I also picked this up at the same dollar store. This is another author that I have never heard of. And this one here is called A Crime of a Different Stripe. And it's, hang on, I'm gonna shut my light off because it's so glaring right now. Okay, it's got a kitty cat with a knitted, although it does look, no, that's knitted, a knitted blanket and yarn on it. So of course I had to get it, right? And it does sound like a good book. It sounds really good. So this one was another book that was retailing at $22 Canadian, and I got it for $5. So it sounds really good, and this will probably be my next read. So they did have another one that kind of revolved around knitting, and it had a puppy dog on it. I had that one in my hand, but I decided to put it back. But yeah, I thought this would be fun. So I'm gonna try to take a little bit more time to include reading back into my life, because I really do enjoy it. So yeah, that is what I have been up to, and that's pretty much it. So I will have all the detailed show notes listed below, and I always link you directly to the pattern makers that I talk about. So yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I am going to probably stay inside because it's pretty hot out there. It's sunny and hot, and yeah, I just want to be a hermit. I just want to stay inside and just, right now I'm watching a Netflix series called The Good Girls. It's such a good show. So I am like binge watching that. There's 4 seasons. I'm on season 2, although I think it's coming to an end. So I've just been binge watching that and knitting and absolutely loving it. I am alone for this weekend, but that's okay. So I am here with the 3 fur babies, and I just love it. And I just so love it because Mr. Pringles is always close. He's like right beside me right now, curled up with my knitting bags. I love it. I have the other 2 behind me as well, so I'm very well taken care of. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do this weekend. So I hope you guys are staying cool wherever you are, and I hope you're doing good, and I hope that you get some crafting done or some reading done or relaxing, whatever it is that makes you happy. So until next time, I will hopefully talk to you guys in 2 weeks. Bye.